The problem for today is to find the intersection of two lists, and each list consists of intervals. And what is an interval? Interval has a start time and an end time. So these are given to you in sorted order, and these are not joint. That is, there is some gap between the intervals. So here A is a list of intervals. First interval is this duration, next is this one, and so on. So you see that interval has two things, start and end. And these intervals are closed. That is, you will include this first interval and last interval. If these intervals are open, you would have written them as A, B, but here they are closed. So you write it at A and B. So including A and B both and everything in between. Similarly, B is another list of intervals. And these are sorted, so you don't need to sort them. So one interval ends, then some gap, then only next interval starts. You have to find the intersection of these. So you see that this is the answer. So you see from here till here, both intervals are overlapping. So this is included in the answer. Here, it's wherever it's ending at 5, it's beginning at 5, and these intervals are closed. So those are included in both the intervals. So the answer just holds this value also. The answer is also a list of intervals, but here start and end both are same. So it's 5, 5. So this can also happen. Similarly, no overlap here, so it's not in the answer. Again, here it's overlapping. So this part is included in answer. Next, it overlaps from here till here, and it's also included in the answer. And there are a few one length overlaps, so those are included in the answer. Now let's see a concrete example. This is taken from LeetCode, and A will be given as a list, and each list will have two elements, start and end time. And the answer is this one. So how we can approach this problem? So first, we will start two loops where I will denote the position that we are in the A, and J can denote at what index we are in B. So we will iterate for all these intervals in A and B, and we will try to find the overlap. So one very naive way of doing this will be that take the first interval, compare it with all the intervals in B, and then whatever overlaps, add it. Then take the second one and compare it with everything and add it to the solution if there is an overlap. So that is not a good approach, since if this is length m intervals are there, and here n intervals are there, then it will take order mn time. So what we will do some optimization. So we will initialize both of them to first element of A and first element of B. So we are here and here. Let this small a denotes a given interval in A, and a small b denotes a small a interval in B. So we compare if the start of B is more than the end of A, then there is no overlap. When can two intervals overlap? When end of one is more than start of other, and vice versa. Not necessarily that if the end is more than a start of other, it will overlap, because you can take this scenario. They are disjoint. End of this is more than start of this, but they are not overlapping. So you have to check for both of these. So end of A should be more than start of B, and end of B should be more than start of A. Then there will be some overlap. So we will check if that is not the case. If end of A, that is, end is denoted by, so this A is this one, so A0 and A1. All the intervals will have two things. A0 denotes start, A1 denotes end. So if A0 or A1 is less than B0, that means A has ended even before B has started. So there cannot be overlap between these two. In this case, we have to look at next A. Since the intervals are sorted, this does not have any interval with any intersection with this. So we look at the next A. Hopefully this has some interval, some intersection. So in this case, we will do I++. And in the other case, if B1 is less than A0, in that case, that's the mirror image of this. B is lying before A has started, so J++. Otherwise, there is an overlap if none of these conditions exists. And how to find the overlap? The overlap will be determined by, so this is the answer. How can we find it? So what does the start of this result denote? The max of the two starts. So A starts here, B starts here. And we are sure that there is some overlap because these two conditions we have already checked. So what will be the start of result? The start will be the max of the two starts because this intersection denotes that it's common to both. So until the job that starts later has not started, there cannot be any overlap in this part. So we will pick the start equal to max of A0 and B0. So whichever start time is maximum, that will be the start time of result. And what will be the end time of this result? Whichever job ends first. So if this job ends first, after that there cannot be overlap, at least for this interval. So end for this result will be min of A1 and B1. That's it. We have the start and end of a result. We will push this interval to the result, whichever we have to accumulate this list. So we will push this into this list, and then we have to look for next interval. And there are a few scenarios. So what is the first scenario? Let's not look at the non-overlapping case, or let's write that as well. So first is that it's like this. Here the top one denotes A and second one denotes B. And this A is just one of the intervals of this capital A. So this is a generic A and a generic B we are looking at. So this is one case. What is the mirror image of this? This one. So this is another case. Then A is completely included in B. And the equivalent case would be B is completely included inside A. And there are a few more cases like A ends here and exactly B starts here. Then other case can be that this one. So we have 6 cases, and the next one can be that both are same. In fact, we don't need to consider it. It's included in the above scenarios, but it's better to be clear. So in this case, I have listed the overlapping case. There would be some more cases where it does not overlap, like this or like this. So these are non-overlapping cases we have already covered. So let's ignore these. So in this case, which one should I increment after taking this? This is the intersection here we have added to the result. And then should we look at the next B? No, because there can be A starting here and it can have some overlap with the B that we are considering. So in this case, we will increment I++. So A will become, A is always denoting AI and B is denoting BJ. So in this case, we will just increment I. We will take the next interval in A because that can have overlap with the current B. So remember this, here it's I plus plus. Here we have taken the intersection till this point. So next A cannot overlap with this since this A itself is ending after this B ends. So in this case, we will increment B. We will look for next B if this overlaps with current A or not. So here we will just increment J. In this case, again we will increment just I since B has not yet ended. This is the intersection here. So here we will increment I. Here we will increment J. Here we will increment I. And here we will increment J. And here we will increment both. Or this may be this case also, if one of them is longer, but their end time is same. So you see that this increment is governed by their end times. So whichever end time is less, so if A1 is less than B1, that is A ends first, we increment I. If A1 is more than B1, then we increment J. Else, both are ending at same time, then we increment both. And later we will see we don't need to even consider this case. It will be covered here if you add equal to in front of one of these. So let's see, we have this scenario where the end times are same and we have added equal to here. You can add here also in one of them, not both. So if A is greater than equal to B, then it will increment J. So B is incremented. So B will start only after some time. There is some gap here. And we did not increment I in this case. So what will happen? It will be the disjoint case where the end of A is less than start of B. So it will automatically increment I in the next step. But we can do it explicitly also, all the three scenarios. So it should work and we will exit the loop while if any of the I becomes equal to size. So while I is less than A dot size and J is less than B dot size, we will continue. And if any of them has ended, we have iterated, then there is no possibility of further overlap. So we return the result. So let's write the code for this. First in C++, then Java and Python. So they are explaining the same example. I had taken this example from this LeetCode itself. B dot size, and then we will add our logic. So first, let's explicitly capture the values of intervals in A and B, small a and b. If end of A is less than start of B, then there is no overlap. So B is starting after, so we have to increment I. b of 0 or b of 1 is less than a of 0. In this case, we will increment j. We will look at next b. So these are the non-overlapping cases. And then we will write the overlapping case. So this else block denotes overlap. Start will be max of their start times and end will be min of their end times. And then we will push it to result. We have added it to the result. Now our next task is which one to increment. And we had seen that we increment based on the end times. So let's do that. So if A1 is less than B1, then we will increment I. A has ended first. Else if A1 is more than B1, then we will increment J. Else, this else is not required. I will show you that it should work for without this else also. Since we will increment one of them and we can add equal to, and in the next iteration of this while loop, it will enter this either of these two cases, non-overlapping cases, and it will increment the other one and then continue the loop. And finally here we have to return the result. And let's try. Okay, so it should be capital B. And the answer matches with the expected one. So let's go ahead and submit. And the solution is accepted in C++. Now we will repeat this logic in Java. Before that, let me show you that thing that I have been talking about. So even if we comment out this part, still it should work. And if we submit, this is also accepted. So let's copy it. And let's get rid of this. This will reduce the size of our code. If you are bothered about size, you can even get rid of these two variables and use a, I, and bj in place of these small a and b. That will further reduce your code size by 2 lines. And you can get rid of these two also if you directly put it here. That will further reduce your code by 2 lines. And you can even write them in 1 line. So that's just a matter of preference. Let's leave it here. And now for Java, we will use a list of arrays. And then finally, we will convert it to the 2-dimensional array, since that is the return type here. So let's make it. And these should remain same. Here it will become length. result.size. And the solution is accepted in Java as well. So the solution looks good. We are around 100%, close to 100%. It takes 2 milliseconds. Now finally we will write it in Python. And let's try it. I plus plus, where is it? Okay. And this time it works. So let's submit. And the solution is accepted in Python as well.